Hey guys, we often come across this term equity research, and we obviously have heard of equity research reports, right? But there is another term which is not that commonly used, or many people are not aware of this term, which is called the stock pitch reports, right? So we need to understand what is the subtle difference between a stock pitch report and a equity research report, right? So let's get into it and let us understand what's the difference between a stock pitch report and a equity research report. So that is going to be the objective of this video. So what is a stock pitch report? So a stock pitch report is a short write-up or presentation. Just give me a minute so that I can highlight few things. uh, yeah, so it's a short write-up or presentation that argues for or against, right? So it argues for or against uh, investing in a public company's stock, which is backed by certain strong investment thesis, data, valuation metrics, catalyst means some events which may trigger up, which is going to have effect on that particular stock, and also assessment of the risk factors, right? So this is what it means in simple terms, right? So generally it's placed where you have a very strong view about a company which might be mispriced. So suppose if you have understanding that after doing your analysis and doing all this set of stuff like investment thesis, data, valuation metrics, catalysts, understanding around the events, the risk factors, then you come to a conclusion that the price, which is something that we are getting to see in the market, and the actual price which this company, this stock should be of, it's quite mispriced, and there may be a difference of roughly 50 to 100% of in terms of your assessment, right? So that is where a stock pitch sort of a report is generally placed, right? Now the thought that's placed in this case is that the company is mispriced. So you have a very strong uh, interpretation that it's mispriced and misunderstood by the market for certain reasons, which is something like I have referred to as A, B, or C. So these are some of the reasons which you may be aware of basis your study and research that you have done, and you have a strong conviction that the price may on account of certain events or certain catalysts, some aspects for which there may be a considerable difference in the price. So over here, say we think that the price may double in the next 6 to 12 months, but no one is speaking about that, right? So this is generally the a place where stock pitch report is generally placed across, right? So what is a stock pitch report? So you need to explain as to why your views about a company, right? So we need to understand as to why the view that you are carrying in context of the company is extremely different and how it is different, right? So that is the broader objective of a stock pitch report. Now that we have understood what is the objective of stock pitch report, now what are the typical components in context of stock pitch reports that we need to have an understanding about? So the typical components includes recommendation, right? So I'll try to show you a stock pitch report which is going to give you more clarity. So this is going to be in form of recommendations, company background, investment thesis, catalyst, valuation. Catalyst means some events which is which you see is going to have a major influence in terms of the difference in the price that you are projecting, right? Valuation, then what are the risk in context of investments and what's the worst case scenario, right? So these are generally the aspects which are covered over here. So let me show you a stock pitch report. So this is one which I've sourced from the net. So that it is available. This sometimes gets to be confidential. So this is available on the net. So I can really show you this, right? So this is like here, like you have the investment thesis, the possible catalyst, the risk associated with that, some of the drivers that is really been the reason as to why you are thinking that a certain price point the stock would be off, right? Now, these are some of the computations. Then you do some sort of a scenario analysis, like a bear case, base case, bull case, and stuff like that, right? So over here, as you get to see that there is a target which is like the present price, and this is the target that you are thinking it's going to be, and there is a significant difference around that, right? So this is to give you a glance in terms of a stock pitch report and what are the segments around that, right? So so which are those areas where most of the discussion happens in a stock pitch report, or which is when you are creating a stock pitch report, which are those areas where the major focus gets to be in? So the first is definitely this section, the catalyst section, because you need to understand what is the reason as to why you are thinking that there is going to be a significant difference in the price, right? So catalyst section is something where the analyst focuses a lot, and then comes the valuation section. So the ones which are marked in bold are the areas which gets to be significant, and the third is the investment risk section. So what I'm trying to say is that all these sections are definitely going to be part of the stock pitch report, but these three sections, the catalyst section, the valuation section, and the investment risk section, gets to be very, very significant, and this is where a major focus of a stock pitch report gets into, right? Now just a second. Yeah. Now, now let us understand what are the components of an equity research report, right? So the typical components of an equity research report and the stock pitch report is not widely different, right? There also in a equity research report also we have components like recommendations, company background, investment thesis, catalyst, valuation, investment risk, and so on, right? But we need to understand the only area which is not there over here is the worst case scenario which was there in case of a stock pitch report, right? And one thing we need to understand that in an equity research report, the major emphasis uh, gets to be uh, uh, gets to be around your company background, right? So over here, and the valuation section, these are the two most important segments where the research analyst spends a lot of time, that is around company background and valuation. So all these sections definitely are there, but these two sections gets to be more significant in a equity research report. So, and as you observe over here, the worst case scenario section is generally not there in an equity research report. So so there is no you can always write on the worst case scenario. I'm saying it is generally observed that that section is not uh, much written about, right? So the focus over here is around company background and valuation, which I just discussed. So now we need to understand why this is so, right? So why there is a difference in the focus between equity research report and the stock pitch report. So in equity research, you tend to promote the companies you are covering. So you generally tend to stick to the mainstream views, right? So you do not try to place your thoughts very wide than what the mainstream thought around business is, because it has business implications from a business standpoint, right? So now what sort of business implications are there, I'll discuss as we move forward. But please understand that you in equity research you generally tend to stick to the mainstream views, and you do not uh, place across your thoughts as an analyst which may be very widely different than what is the major thought around in the mainstream arena, right? So now let us understand what are those difference between a stock pitch report and a equity research report. So the number one is that in an equity research report, Okay, so yeah, you focus more on recent results, right? So this is very important, that in an equity research report, uh, the focus is on recent results and announcements and updates, right? And especially you get to see that in the first two pages. So let me show you a equity research report that would give you more understanding as to what I'm trying to say. So this is the equity research report, as you get to see over here, and you see in the very first page itself you have this section, like the recent views, recent news, and stuff like that. So uh, if you have not gone through a equity research report, please do this. Do go through it, and I'll try to share this across if you want this set of reports, equity research report and the stock pitch report, which I'm referring to, right? So what I'm trying to say is that in a equity research report, generally the focus is more on recent results and announcements in the first two pages, where in the stock pitch report, the recent news focus gets to be only in case where it is of short term issues, right? So when it is of short term, in like you are trying to place across as to why the stock price is going to be increasing or decreasing in a on a short term perspective, then you focus more on the recent results and announcement. But if your focus is more towards a long term issue, so you try to say that the stock price is going to increase, say, in 1 2 year or 3 years period of time and stuff like that, then maybe the discussion around the recent results doesn't get to be too much, right? The second one is in terms of the fact that equity research report are um, very, as I mentioned across earlier also, that it's very rare to see views outside the mainstream, and the very reason of it is that um, see, equity research is a business at the end of the day, right? So if you are trying to write something which is very different from what has been the mainstream thought around a particular stock, there the motivation gets to be very different, right? So what I'm trying to say through this is that the person who is actually the research analyst or the team which is actually working on that particular company, their motivation is really not the same as that of a hedge fund manager who is actually investing the money, right? So a research analyst is not the person who is actually placing across the money. So they're not the ones who is investing money. So if they come up with something very different, it may hurt the trading volumes, and that may have a negative effect on banks' commissions for institutional clients, right? So this sort of a consequence may come up, and that is something which no one wants to really get into, right? So that's the reason equity research report, uh, the focus gets to be a bit different. But in a stock pitch report, the objective is to bring forth or highlight certain thoughts which is very on which you as an analyst you have a very strong focus or strong uh, perception about, which you really want to bring forth, right? So that is how a stock pitch report and the equity research report gets to be different. And the number three is that equity research report focus more on target prices rather than valuation range. So generally in any equity research report that you get to see, so suppose if we see over here in this equity research report, uh, so you get to see that this is the current price and there is a target price which is placed across, right? So generally it's a price that one looks forward to, and that is how the focus of the report gets to be. And it doesn't really speak much about a range as such. Now there are debates and discussions as to whether uh, placing across a particular price is the right way of doing things, or whether we should be going about in context of a range. But the market the scenario which is presently out there is that you place across a target price, right? So that makes life easy for the person who is actually taking the decision, and that is done from that context. So this gets to be the factor where in case of a stock pitch report, generally a valuation range is something which is really placed across, right? So this is the area where it gets to be different. And the last one is that in equity research report, this the I would say it is a bit loose in terms of the investment thesis, which I mentioned earlier. The around investment thesis or researching more around the different events or trigger points which may have a consequential effect on the price of the stock and risk factors. Obviously, they discuss around this set of elements, but these are not something which is discussed in depth uh, compared to a stock pitch report, right? So that is what I'm trying to place across. So these are some of the ways in which a stock pitch report and the equity research report gets to be different. And I thought that it's something that a person who is intending to be a financial analyst or someone who intends to make a career as a financial analyst, one should be really knowing around this set of things, because the subtle differences are not something which is really brought forward very commonly, right? So I hope it gives you some insights, something new which you must have not thought about, or something which really interests you, right? So if you are liking such videos, give a like and share it with your friends and fraternity, so that it reaches to more number of people. And this would give me some encouragement as well to come up with such videos, right? So thanks a lot, guys. See you in some other video. Bye.